But let's kind of pull back into the other people's money. What does that mean? Is it like VTBs, promissory notes? What is that? What exactly is it?
Well, you're bang on. So essentially we use three different ways. We use vendor takebacks or seller financing where the owner of the property holds part of the financing for you, or the entire financing for you in some cases. Registered funds like TFSAs or RRSPs, and also promissory notes. And quite often it's going to be a combination of all three as well.
Welcome to Real Talk with Gary. If you are listening to this show, that means you are either searching or ready to make a financial change in your life. This show is not only about real estate investing, but also the importance of mindset and the roadmap to a better, healthier life. Learn the daily routines of successful entrepreneurs and the latest market strategies and trends to stay ahead of the curve. Ready for some down-to-earth, north-of-the-border Canadian talk? Here's your host, Gary Hibbert.
All right, welcome back. And today I've got Dave and Mel. They are well-known real estate investors. They're innovative in what they do. They are best-selling authors. They're award-winning mentors, and they've solely acquired over 240 apartments in just a few short years in Canada, in the U.S., in Mexico, and the Dominican Republic, and also in Costa Rica. Like, just an incredible story of what you're able to do if you put your mind to it and become obsessed with what you're doing. And it definitely shows that they have mastered their craft. And so we dive into how they've been able to do all that. And also, one of the things that they do is with the private investing or using other people's money or VTBs is that a lot of these interest rates are at 8, 9, 10, 12%. So with interest rates where they are today, they've been investing in real estate using way higher interest rates. So for them, this really isn't that big of a deal, right? So it's interesting having that conversation with them. The importance of investing in yourself, and then also, which is something that I'm looking at right now and doing it, is their geographical freedom and how they've been able to acquire that. And so an incredible story and really, really interesting journey that they've been on. And before we dive into it, I want to talk about this because I think this is really important, that during these uncertain times in real estate, the number one thing that you should be focusing on right now before you buy your next investment property is mindset. And with all the noise out there in the mainstream media, with Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, you need to be able to be laser focused and focus on what I always talk about is the fundamentals of real estate. And I think too many people got caught up in the speculation market. Here's an example. Like, a professional athlete will not go onto the field without having looked at the playbook. And that's what a lot of beginning investors I see doing right now. And so you've got to be careful. You've got to be smart. And it's one of the reasons why Darlene and I started Smart Home Choices, because we wanted to not only educate ourselves, but to also educate people that wanted to get into real estate investing. So really important. And I'll leave it with this: that there's three people that I listen to. I got more than that, but three that I'll share with you. So number one, Jim Rohn, when I'm looking for motivation. The other person I listen to is Joe Rogan, and the reason why I listen to Joe Rogan is because he has his own podcast, obviously. And it allows me to develop my skill when I'm doing podcasts, to be more inquisitive, to listen to what the other person is saying. And so he's a master at what he does. And so I like listening to him and learning from him. And then number three, sometimes I just need a good kick in my ass. And David Goggins, he does that very well. So those are three people that you can listen to that might help you. And please, if you're enjoying the show, please leave a review. It really does help with the algorithm to allow other people to find this. And don't forget to check out smarthomechoice.ca. We got lots of events that are happening, fast start class, property tours. We got some live events that are coming up soon. So lots of great things. And then of course we've got the VIP mentorship that Darlene and I are doing. I think we maybe have one spot left. So check that out if you're interested. We're going to be starting that very, very soon. All right. And with that, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care. Today's show brought to you by Rent Panda. Rent Panda helps landlords go from listing to lease without wasted time or headaches along the way. Rent Panda provides the do-it-yourself landlord, which is an online platform where you can list your property for free, post your ad on multiple platforms, see tenant profiles, message tenants, schedule showings, get credit checks, build leases quickly and easily. Rent Panda also caters to the more passive landlord who needs to find a tenant, doing all of the leasing work, so all you have to do is sit back and get the best tenants presented to you. We are live. Mel and Dave, how you guys doing?
Hello, we're fantastic.
We're good.
How are
Thanks
you?
Awesome. Thanks for making the trek all the way down here from North Bay. I know you guys hit some snow on the way down.
Yes.
Is there a lot of snow up there right now?
There's a lot of snow.
We had a
Yeah.
huge snowstorm last night.
Yeah, they've been canceling the school for what, 2 or 3 days?
2 days in a
Yeah.
row, yeah.
Really?
We got here and we're like, where's the snow? Isn't it winter here too?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? We haven't had a lot. I think we got dumped on a couple times, but after that, it just kind of cooled down a bit. And then it got cold a bit, but there hasn't been a ton of snow like there have been like in previous years.
Right.
Right? What about up in North Bay?
Yeah, it's usually always the same. Just a lot of snow all winter long, and but we go snowmobiling and we go skiing, so that
Oh, you
ends up
guys got
being
all
a
the
lot of
toys
fun.
up
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
We make the best out of it, right?
Do you guys go like downhill skiing as well too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw this picture. So I don't know if you guys know Dave Butler. So he's owner of BM Select.
Yes.
Anyway, so he's I think he's out west. But anyways, I saw on his story, and he's like up in this mountain, and all you see are he's like above the clouds.
Wow.
And I think it's called Devil's Point or something. But anyways, I'm just like, not for me.
Right.
I'm on a beach. I am relaxing. Give me some cervezas.
Yes. Well, I'm a beach bum as well, but we make the best out of Northern Ontario.
Yeah, cool. Listen, this is the second time you guys have been in the show.
Yeah.
So I want to dive, I'm not going to get into the intro of your story because we've already talked about this. So if you guys want to listen to that, you guys can go back, whoever's listening to the previous podcast. But I really want to dig into what's happening in the market, also your specific strategy, and kind of break down the numbers. Because when people hear about other people's money, creative financing, they don't really get it. Or they don't understand it. Like, I don't understand, like, how can you do this without using my money? Or how can you continue to grow and scale if you're not using joint venture money? Like, so how do you do that? And I think your claim to fame was it 12 properties in 12 months back in 2017? Is that correct?
Yes, 12 properties, 12 months. So that was multifamily properties. So
Yep.
that was around 56 units.
That's incredible. And then what did you guys do last year in 2022?
Last year, what did we do, Dave?
We really started diversifying, right? Well, we started that in 2021, but last year was the diving into Mexico, Costa Rica. Was it 2021?
I want to get that mic a little closer to you.
But yeah, last year was the Mexico and Dominican Republic. And we actually sold 4 properties, right? We kind of took advantage earlier on in that year, and we're actually holding mortgages for people as well. So kind of a different spin on the creative financing is,
Oh, so you're doing private lending now?
yeah, a little bit of
On
that.
the flip side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd be in the bank?
It's pretty cool because those houses that we bought with seller income properties that we bought with seller financing, we refinanced them, paid everyone back, continued to cash flow. And now we sold them, holding mortgages and continuing to cash flow again. So we did a little bit of, different things last year.
Mostly been focusing on really diversifying our portfolio, going, like Dave said, in different countries.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun because we love traveling and we have to check off on our properties, right?
Awesome. All right. So we're getting into the diversification, but let's kind of pull back into the other people's money. What does that mean? Is it like VTBs, promissory notes? What is that? What exactly does it?
Well, you're bang on. So essentially, we use 3 different ways. We use vendor takebacks or seller financing, where the owner of the property holds part of the financing for you, or the entire financing for you in some cases. Registered funds like TFSAs or RRSPs, and also promissory notes. And quite often, it's going to be a combination of all 3 as well.
Okay. So let's break down a deal, right? How does that work? Right? Like, are you going directly to the seller typically? Are you buying some of these properties on that are on market, like through a realtor?
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of which one. Let's take one in Costa Rica. If you want to stay in Canada, it's up to you, Gary. But Costa Rica, condo.
I mean, it's going to be the same thing, right? Whether it's Costa Rica, whether it's here in North Bay, and Peterborough, doesn't matter. Okay, so let's use Costa Rica because it's sunnier there.
Exactly. Yeah, you wanted your cervezas.
Yeah.
We're going there next week, so it's top of mind right now.
Nice, nice.
So basically, for example, there was one condo that we purchased. I think this was the second one we purchased in Costa Rica. So $325,000 USD. And the seller is holding 227 first mortgage. So we needed to come up with.
So what's the LTV on that approx? What are the numbers again?
325, and they're holding 227.
I don't know. My math is terrible. Okay, whatever. We'll call it 60%.
Yeah, whatever.
Who cares? Okay, so 60%.
They're holding the first.
I just want people to understand the concept.
I agree with you.
Okay, fine. So 60%.
So holding the first mortgage, and then so we had to come up with $100K. So what did we do? Down payment, right?
So you had to come with $100K. So the difference.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
So the 98,000 or whatever it comes up to.
Yep.
And so it's in Costa Rica. So we utilized a promissory note from Canada, which is basically contractual agreement. I like the contractual agreement term more than promissory note. I find promissory note Mickey Mouse almost, but that is the legal term.
But that's the legal term.
So
ironically,
contractual agreement, paying them. So took those funds, and it ended up being our down payment in Costa Rica. So 100% finance deal.
Okay. Now that first mortgage, that was from the seller, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what was the percentage on that interest rate?
They are still doing 6% interest only balloon payments.
Okay.
Yeah, so 6%. It comes up to about $13,000, just shy of $14,000 a year in interest.
Okay. Now, are you paying that monthly, or are you just going to pay that at the end?
At the end.
Okay. And for somebody who's listening, they don't know what balloon payment means. What are you guys talking about?
It can mean different things, but it's anyway. I like doing a visual. It's little at the beginning and bigger at the end. Or nothing throughout the period of time, and all due at the end. So in this case, that's what it's going to be. So the $27,000 in interest will come due at the end of the 2-year term when we pay them out. What I love about this, though, if you think about this, so 0 mortgage payments every single month for 2 years. The place is rented constantly. So the cash. Think about how you cash flow on properties when you have a mortgage payment. This is really cash flowing. Well, it's obviously cash flowing without no mortgage payment on top of it, right? So now the whole point of this is okay, that's fine and dandy, right? For 2 years, no mortgage payments, woohoo! But what happens at the end of the 2 years, right? When that comes due, and that's where, when we're using creative financing, the exit strategy is, well, Mel and I always say you have to exit before you enter. So that's where we built out how are we going to pay these people back, right? How are we going to pay back the seller? How are we going to pay back the promissory note? And
now, before we get back, getting into like paying them back, sorry, I might have missed this in the beginning. Was this a single family? Is it a multi?
This one's a 2-bedroom condo.
So so it's just a condo.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it is cash flowing for you guys, because obviously the payments aren't going to be until the end, right? Now, during that time while they're there, were there any renovations that you guys had to do with the property? Because there's sometimes an element of forced appreciation, correct? Are you guys doing any of that?
Not in this case. So often that's been our strategy for many of the properties that we purchase. But for this specific one, no. It was a new build.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about the exit strategy then. Because if you're not getting that forced appreciation, I think that's what a lot of people or a lot of investors are used to, because that's how you're going to make this thing work. How are you guys making this work?
Yeah. Yeah. And this one, it's just the value of the property. I mean, we're investing in a market that is definitely in the appreciation market, investing where returns are best. And Dave, what's the number? What are they like? They're selling condos now.
Yep.
So some in the same buildings that we're in are selling some of their condos, and they're listing for
$575.
Yeah, $575.
So conservatively,
even if we go for $550.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you guys picked it up for $325. $325. How were you guys able to pick it up for that cheap?
It was just timing, right? Like some of the new builds now, it's just finding the markets. I love Costa Rica for that. It's just getting ahead of that curve, right? So this was, people want to know, it's Cocoa Beach. So it's whatever, Liberia is one of their international airports. So it's like 45 minutes from there-ish. So it's just an up and coming place. Picked it up for $325. So it's to try and find those places where in 2 years from now, they're going to be going up. So that one is the exit on that one. And basically, if you look at it, so just to kind of to wrap up or give some closure on those numbers. So purchase for $325. They held a mortgage for $227. At the end of it, we'll owe them $227 plus $27, so $254,000 is what we'll owe the seller.
Mm-hmm.
We'll sell it for $550-ish, even if you say $525, just to be uber conservative. By the time we pay them back, by the time we pay the promissory note and the interest, we pay the real estate agent, we pay the closing costs, we're looking at walking away with roughly $150,000 USD.
That's really good. But did you know that from the beginning? Right, because the time, it sounds like timing was there, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought we'd get maybe 500, but it's just like I thought that would be our top ARV after repair value. But the market's just, it's booming. Costa Rica's it's the hot spot right now, right?
So, and when did you guys pick that one up?
That was last year around this time.
Yeah, I think the 2 years will be in September or October, off the top of my head. Not this year, but next year.
Okay.
If I remember, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So why Costa Rica?
Why not Costa Rica? and that's the thing, like these strategies, and we're using Costa Rica as an example here, but these strategies can be applied in everywhere. We're in 5 countries right now that we've purchased using these 5 countries in Canada.
When did you start all this process of being in 5 different countries?
We were focusing in Canada, right? That's where we bought the majority of our 240 units, right, throughout the years. And then we started diversifying in the U.S., Mexico.
I think it was 2021.
Dominican, yeah. So it's within that past couple of years. And again, I'm not saying
COVID.
Yeah, I guess we were itching to travel. But the thing is, and it doesn't mean somebody's first property will necessarily have to be in a different country here, but we use that one specifically to show that these strategies that are applicable in Canada, or even if you go to the US, like there's such great markets that you can do this in, especially when you're doing the forced appreciation even more, which typically that's what we do. We find underperforming properties, that BRRRR strategy, forced appreciation, and of course investing in markets where you'll get that lift as well.
Right. Okay. So you're in Canada, you're in Costa Rica, you're in the U.S. What were the other 2?
Mexico and Dominican Republic.
Where in Mexico? I'm in Mexico as well.
Oh, are you? Nice.
Playa del Carmen.
Oh, cool. There you go.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Where are you guys?
Tulum.
Oh, so just below.
Just below.
Yeah. You know what? That's a really nice area there. I went there a number of years ago, but I haven't gone back. And we were trying to get down there. We just came back about a week ago.
Oh, nice.
But it's more of like it's getting really starting to get developed, but it's still got that jungle, really natural feel to it, right? Where Playa del Carmen has more of a second world, a little bit more familiarity of like there's a Home Depot you can go to and a Walmart, and you get that Fifth Avenue, which is what my wife really kind of fell in love with. Right? So, but okay, so now going back to that property now in Costa Rica, okay, and finding those properties that you can pick that up for a good price and then able to kind of recycle your money and get out of it. Are you going to continue to do that type of strategy down there? And then also, how do you find that? How do you also explain that to somebody in Costa Rica? This is what I'm trying to do, because it may not be an easy conversation, I would assume, correct?
Yeah, no, great point. And this one was all through an investor-focused real estate agent that we found, that we knew.
Yeah.
And it was just, we told them, find these up-and-coming deals or these up-and-coming markets so that, again, it's a different strategy. There's no real financing in Costa Rica. There is, but your first mortgages are going to be like between 10 and 12%, right? Which we've done before, but it's a different play. So we knew, because we have 3 properties in Costa Rica right now. We knew they're all 100% financed. We knew we're going to have to sell probably 2 or 3 or all of them, and then eventually we'll take those funds and just buy places outright, right? Or even just continue and maybe start with a bunch in the beginning and maybe have 1 or 2 out of the 3 that we keep, because we'll have to come up with the funds somehow. So it's just a different play in Costa Rica. Or we might just bring the money back home. I think the Costa Rica, the capital gains there is, I think 15%, which we don't have a tax treaty with them. So we still, anyway, but so probably just keep the money there and just keep keep creating more money and buying rentals and having to go on vacations there. That's kind of the plan with that.
Right. So, what's been interesting, though, about your story and about what you guys have done over the last 5-6 years of really growing your portfolio is that you guys have been comfortable with 8, 9, 10% financing, where everybody else, well, I won't say everybody else, but many people are used to like 2%, 3%, and everybody's like losing their minds now that we're up to like 5 or 6%. So this hasn't slowed you down at all.
No, not at all. And to clarify, I mean, we've done deals where it's 0%. We've done deals at 3%, at 5%, at 7%, at double digits as well. We don't focus on the interest. Of course, we'd rather have lower interest, but it's really about the bigger picture of the deal, right? If I'm going to only make my prediction to only make $20,000 off a deal and they want to charge me 8%, it might not make sense for me to do so. But if I'm able to predict that I'll make $150,000, I'm paying them a little bit higher interest, why would I not do it, right? And that's what's really helped us scale our portfolio, is not just looking at the interest rate. Yes, of course, that's important. And a lot of deals may not make sense, but it's finding those deals that if the interest is higher, that the deal overall still makes sense and I can still make a lot of profit.
Okay. Now, is there typically a realtor involved in the deals that you guys are putting together, or a lot of times are they off-market deals?
I'd say 50-50.
I know, I was trying to think of a...
Yeah, I mean,
both.
definitely working with an investor-focused realtor, right, who knows what they're doing, that understands creative financing, but also being open to finding off-market deals as well, because it's a numbers game, right? The more deals you look at, statistically speaking, the more you'll find the right deals.
Right. Okay, so somebody's listening to this and they want to do what you guys are doing, right? Where do they start? Because let's say if they're interested in investing in Peterborough or maybe Lindsay or wherever it may be, what's the first thing that they should be doing? Because it's obviously about understanding and running your numbers. That's obviously, I think, probably one of the most important things in the beginning. But what else should they be doing?
I think you're bang on, understanding the numbers. I think finding investor-focused people, right? So having an investor-focused real estate agent who could bring them deals, or that has experience and that understands how to analyze deals or underwrite them. That could probably be the next step, right? Because you're bang on, the cap rates and the NOIs and all that are important. But building the power team around them of investor-focused agents, obviously lawyers and accountants, but even just the knowledge piece, and without and obviously Mel and I, we have the action, but without even that is just you need knowledge, right? You don't know what you don't know. There's so many blind spots.
Well, that's the thing, right? With creative financing,
It's
the reality
scary
is
blind
it
spots,
is
right?
scary, and you don't know what you don't know, and we've certainly made our fair amount of mistakes as well. But making sure that you do get that education piece, that you do learn how to do it properly, because one mistake in real estate can be really, really costly from not having the built-in exit strategy from the beginning, for example, right? You're going to be investing hundreds of thousands of dollars here, right? You want to make sure that you know how to do it properly. And if you're trying to do it without the right knowledge and right information, you might think that you're further ahead, but it's going to take you way longer to get there, and you're going to make so many more mistakes. And I'm talking about our own experience here. Like at first we were trying to figure it all out ourselves, and we made a lot of mistakes, and did we do it? But not at the speed that we're able to do it now, right? And we still have coaches, for example, right? Like we always invest in ourselves. So having the right information, also realizing that just because somebody says it can't be done, don't believe them. Maybe they're saying it can't be done because they don't understand it, or because their financial institution doesn't do it, for example, right? We've went to financial institutions who wouldn't do creative financing. Doesn't mean it can't be done. They just don't do it, for example. So really making sure to be careful on who you're getting your advice from as well.
Yeah, and you know what? You really hit on an important point there, is investing in yourself. And I think a lot of times beginning investors or people who have maybe a couple properties, they don't do that. They're still continuing to chase those deals, but they're not investing in themselves. And I remember, I'll never forget this. This is when I was at that point, like, okay, how do I kind of break through? And I was talking to my neighbor, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this coach. It's going to cost me about $1,000 a month. And he like, no, why would you do that? That's too much money. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just get in. I'll take as much information as I can from him, and then I'm going to get out of it, and I'll get out of it, right? 2 years later, because then I realized how important coaching is.
Yeah.
It is so critical. And even up to today, I still have coaching. My and my team as well too. They've got coaches as well too that help them just to bounce ideas off, to share and show them the ropes on how this works, what doesn't work, what does work. It just allows them to get through all of the difficulties and the barriers quicker.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's just a shame that people just are so scared of doing that.
They think it's cheaper to do it themselves. And even like you said, you still have coaches. I find just having a conversation with our coaches, sometimes the answer is right there, but you're so in your own zone, you're so in your own head, you're so tunnel vision, and it's like, well, what about this? And you're thinking, that was right in front of me. Like, how did I not think about it? Because you're not giving yourself that space, or you're not having that outside opinion. So you're 100% bang on.
Yeah. So let's kind of go back to going through a deal, okay? Because a lot of times when you're getting that first mortgage, right? The banks or the financial institutions, they don't want a second mortgage behind that, right? Do you ever come across that? And is it just like is it a barrier, or it's where it's just like a roadblock, saying, okay, fine, we got to find something else? How do you navigate around that?
Yeah, absolutely. Simple answer. Banks don't do creative financing. If you're going to a bank, you will get, from my experience, no's right away. So we don't go to the traditional big five, the big five banks here in Canada to the creative financing, because they're going to say no in the early life cycle of the deal. So it's really exactly that, finding financial institutions who are open to creative financing and are open to having the owner hold part of the financing. And I mean, we've done so many creative things as well. Sometimes it's been 100% owner financed deals. Sometimes we've done 80% owner finance and the rest being Mrs. RSPs, so using somebody else's RSPs, for example. So there's a lot of different ways that you can structure the deal itself. So if ever you find a deal and the owner, for example, is not willing to hold financing, but it's an amazing deal, don't pass on it. There's different ways that you can get funding for it, as long as it continues to make financial sense and you have that built-in exit strategy.
Okay. Explain to me what a promissory note is for somebody who's listening and they're not sure, because it's a promise.
It's a promissory note. Yeah. So I know, and that's why we don't love that term, but it is that's the legal name. And that's exactly it. It's a contractual agreement. Now, not everybody wants to do what Dave and I are doing and find the deals and purchasing and overseeing the property management and all that. They just have money in their funds, maybe in a line of credit. Maybe they refinance their house because they went up in value and they have $50,000 or $100,000 or $200,000. They understand that real estate is going to go up in value, but they don't want to do this all themselves. So this is where we'd have a contractual agreement done through lawyers where we agree to certain terms. So you're going to lend me, let's say, $100,000 at X% interest for X amount of time. And then we can use it. Essentially, it gives us a lot of flexibility because we can use it for the down payment. I've used it before to pay for closing costs. You can use it for renovation. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. Often they may want higher interest out of it. And again, as long as the deal makes financial sense, I'm okay to pay a little bit more if I'm going to get a huge amount at the end as well.
Right. Now, are you typically getting these promissory notes from people that you know or investors that you know, or like how are you getting them?
Yeah, no, typically not people we know. That's been the hardest. And honestly, this was one of huge roadblocks that I had at the beginning. Like, we don't know any rich people. We don't have tons of people with money and all that kind of stuff. And who's going to want to lend to us? Who's Mel and Dave? Mm-hmm. I know now we're all over social media, but back then we weren't.
Back then, yeah.
And it's really just having conversation with people and making it a win-win and really showing them the exit strategy as well. And going through the mindset that it doesn't have to be these millionaires that you're dealing with. It can literally be your neighbor's uncle or your dentist assistant, or it can literally be just normal people, on a regular income that has money in their line of credit or has extra cash, and they just want to invest at a little bit higher interest. And again, you're going to have to make it a win-win. You should show them the exit strategy. Like, I would never lend $100K to somebody unless I felt confident in the deal itself. If I didn't feel like they had the right education to pay me back and all those things, right? So it's important, again, to know those things. But we've raised millions in promissory note and have paid them back.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's also, one, that they got to be educated. And two, I guess there's sometimes even education that you're providing for them as well to explain to them, here's how it works. Is it difficult though? Like, what do you find that is just pictures drawing a house and how it all kind of works? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is it a presentation?
We end up showing them our exit strategy, right? So in the cash flow analysis matrix, which is basically underwriting the deal, just like the institutions, we show them like, okay, here's the asset right now. This is why we're buying it. Once we do X, Y, Z, which is either forced appreciation or market appreciation, like the Costa Rica deal, the asset will now be worth this, and then we'll either sell it or bring it for refinancing, and then the new financing will be at this amount, with this loan to value or this mortgage,
right,
and then we'll be paying you out. So it's showing them how we do it, and what the future valuation of the asset will be, and then how we're gonna get from A to B, and explaining questions. What we end up doing a lot of is trying to think, okay, if I was lending you $100,000, what would my questions be? And then trying to answer those questions before they actually ask them.
Right.
And transparency is key, right?
Yeah, and building your own, I guess, how can I say it? Your own reputation around it as well, right? Like, for example, I have some of my lenders now that at first they used to do owner financing for me. They sold me their properties. I paid them on time. I paid them back early, of course. I made it a win-win with them. And now I went back and I said, well, would you be interested in becoming a lender now for me? So at a higher interest rate, let's make it attractive. And that's often how it can be as well. And sometimes I actually have lenders that I've built throughout, that we've built our pool of investors throughout the years who are ready to invest more money with us for one reason or another. And sometimes I have to say I can't. Right. And it's important to be able to say that as well. I can't right now because I don't have a deal that makes financial sense. Just because somebody's willing to lend you money, whether it's owner financing or through promissory notes or registered funds, doesn't mean that you just say, oh, okay, and go at it. And I think that's where people go wrong, right? At times, that's where mistakes can happen. And because it is exciting, you think, oh, I'll get into this deal and I'll figure it out. No, you need to figure it out before you touch a penny of anyone else's money, right? And this is where it's really important as well. So, and we've been very transparent at times. We're like, I know you have $100,000. I know you want to put your money to work. I appreciate that. But as an investor, I need to ensure that I'm doing my due diligence with your money. I need to wait a little bit longer until I find that right deal that I'm fully confident in, where I can really reveal the numbers and we can make it a win-win.
Yeah, and that's a good place to be in as well too, is where now you have investors that are waiting on your deals because they know Mel and Dave do their due diligence and find good deals. I'm sure that wasn't like that in the beginning.
It wasn't. No. But even just the mindset of owner financing, for example, that's my mindset now, is that every single owner out there has potential to be one of my private lenders. They may not know yet, and they may not want to, and that's okay. You're going to get some no's. I get no's as well all the time, but I definitely get some yeses as well.
Now, how do you reach out to your investors? Is it like a newsletter blast? Are you just picking up the phone and calling them directly because you know you have people that are waiting? Like, how does that work for you guys, being where you are now?
Now it's a little bit easier on social media, and people will reach out to us and through our book and things like that. But I guess back in the day, if you want to say it that way, when we were doing it, it was just having conversations. And it sounds so easy and cheesy, but it was having conversations with, again, when you go to the dentist, hey, what's up? Well, I'm buying real estate and creative financing, and having those conversations. And we used to do things like we would make it a point. Today we're gonna have a conversation with 3 different people that we don't know, and it's gonna be awkward in the beginning, but just, hey, it'll be a lot better when we have a building with creative financing. So things like that. Even anyway, what's her name? One of our students, she was talking to one of her tenants and explaining creative financing. The tenant went, hey, my aunt or my cousin just came across an inheritance and she has money, doesn't know what to do with it. So just, again, people have what you want, right? Having a conversation. And one of our tenants.
And then when it comes to nurturing as well, it was just really exactly that, nurturing them. Sometimes we'd go for a coffee together. Sometimes we would go for a nice meal together, especially when we were brand new, to really explain so they get to know, like, and trust us more, because they didn't at first. And then just showing them the deal, keeping them updated as well, especially when they're brand new to you. It's a lot of money for somebody to invest with you, especially if they don't know who you are. And just making sure that you update them frequently. Hey, just wanted to let you know that one of the tenants moved out. We put in new flooring. We got rid of the pink carpet, and it's going to go up in value, everything's, we're on track type of thing. So just once in a while, we just make sure to keep track and
reaching out to them before they ask you, right?
Exactly.
Again, it's answering their questions before they have to ask them.
But you also touched on a really good point there, Dave, is that in the beginning, it is difficult to have those conversations. Me and my wife, we sucked. We were horrible. Like I think probably for the first 6 to 8 months, and just like we'd walk away from the conversation like, oh my God, we blew it again. But we got better. It's like, okay, we don't say this, or you got to do it like this. And then what you realize is that you're not selling the deal, you're selling yourself. Mm-hmm. And then once people believe in you, then they'll trust you and they'll want to go on a journey with you. And once we kind of figured that out, I'm like, I get it.
Right.
Well, that's joint ventures though. Right. But
it's
also
the same
for private, yeah. Also, if you're raising capital,
It's
so same
still
thing.
trust,
It's
right?
the same thing.
It's a relationship and it's trust.
And we were the same as well. I love that you say that. We're
love
very
you
much
say that
alike.
too.
I mean, we're doing the same thing. We'd have a conversation, then we'd come home like, oh, I shouldn't have said this, or oh, why'd you say this? Or, maybe this next time let's word it this way, or we forgot about this.
Yeah. We didn't have an answer for this, so we'll have to,
Yeah, I didn't know what to answer for this one. And we just got better over time. And you have to remember, whether this is your first deal and you're thinking, well, it's easy for other people because they have all these properties and they have all this experience. But all these other people started somewhere as well. Dave and I, we had to have our first owner finance deal as well. We had to have the first one with registered funds. We had to have the first one with promissory notes as well.
Looking back, I know who we did our first one with. We had we were awkward.
We're very awkward.
Like it's when you look at yourself like on a first podcast or on something. It's like
with your AC/DC shirt, like we didn't talk. No shaving, no blazer.
It's no different for your first podcast or the first time you do, like a seminar in front of a group of 50 or 100 people.
Yeah,
you just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, you just get better at it over time, and your confidence goes up as well, right? You'll understand it more, and
even for me, like I didn't like public speaking in the beginning, and even now, like if I get a request like, hey Gary, you want to come do a talk, and I'm like, okay, fine, but I got to let it sink in a bit sometimes, and then I'm like, okay, fine, let's do it. Like just get out of your comfort zone, and I think that's what people need to get more comfortable with is being uncomfortable. And the more they can do that, they will move and grow out of their comfort zone. Because once you do, then you can come back into your comfort zone. But you got to keep pushing that circumference.
I agree. You have to get uncomfortable, right? And there's always a level of fear when it comes to anything, right? And my first property, I had fear. My first 6 flags, my first 17 flags, my first 50 flags. And now we're investing in different countries. Of course, it still comes with an amount of fear because it's something new. But
it doesn't go away. It's just different.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And when it comes to lenders and all that, I think at the end of the day, of course, self-evaluate, get better at it, and just stay who you are. Just be authentic. You don't have to be perfect. If you don't know an answer, then just say, you know what, I'm not sure about this, but I'm going to find out about it. Right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Just be you, be yourself, and people will either like you or maybe not, and that's okay as well.
Right. Now, what about somebody who's going to lend you money? Would you allow them to cross-collateralize? Do you allow that, or? Yeah, no.
We have never done cross-collateralization, just to be honest with you. Actually, I shouldn't. We've never cross-collateralized. We've allowed them to put a second mortgage. I guess it depends how you look at it. Mm-hmm. We've never cross-collateralized one asset to fund the other. However, I guess it depends how you look at it. When I hear cross-collateralization, I'm mostly thinking of a financial institution putting collateral on your other assets in order to fund a down payment. Like we've had that with blanket mortgages, which we said no to. And there's nothing wrong with blanket mortgages.
I guess we should probably first define it.
Yeah.
So if anybody who's listening, right? So what is cross-collateralization?
So it could be, now that I'm thinking of two different things. So some institutions will allow you to, if you have assets and you have equity, they'll allow you to utilize that equity in those assets in order to use it towards a down payment on a new purchase. So that's kind of cross-collateralization. Mm-hmm. Another way of looking at it too is, let's say I've got a duplex with X amount of equity in it, and Gary, you come along and you say, hey Dave, I'll give you $50K, put it on as a second mortgage, and I've got security there, and then I'll give you the $50K to do what you want with it. Mm-hmm. I see that as kind of a way of cross-collateralization as well.
Yeah, so lending you $50K on that duplex, but then also saying, hey, I want to tie an interest to another one of your investment properties. Mm-hmm. Do you allow that?
We have not done that.
Okay. Okay, that's kind of more what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Like where they're, I guess you could say, hedging themselves,
Right.
right? Where it's like, okay, yeah, I'll lend you for this property here, but I also want an interest in this property over here, just in case.
We've always done it where the money you put in is in that asset. You don't touch another one. But that being said, we've also done loans where the mix have done GSAs so that's kind of, I guess it's not cross collateralization, but it is security over and we personally guarantee things. So I know that's not cross collateralization, but I guess it's a security, another way for the lenders and the institutions.
Now, what about cash flow? Because I think sometimes people get into real estate investing and they think they can just live off of the cash flow off their investment properties. Are you guys able to do that? How long does that take? How many doors do you need to have? Because you're not only investing in real estate, you're doing other things as well too. And I guess the question is, can you just live off the cash flow, or do you have to create other businesses as you're growing?
Well, you definitely have to wait till you get to a certain level, right? So when we had 3, 4, 5 properties, it wasn't enough to quit from our full-time jobs. And that answer is going to vary for everyone, right? What's your income? What are your expenses? How much are you cash flowing, right? If you're investing in a hotter market, you're not going to cash flow as much as, for example, we always typically invest in secondary markets. Of course, our monthly cash flow was significantly more. So for us, yes, because we were strategically investing in secondary markets, right, to having that cash flow coming in. But it certainly wasn't. I mean, we had a lot of doors when I ended up quitting my full-time job, and then Dave worked an extra year, and then he quit his full-time job as well. But that came after many.
But when
units.
you quit your job, though, were you living off the cash flow?
Yes.
Okay, so the cash flow did supplement your income. Now, what about maintenance? What about things that come up? Because you see, you got whatever 20 doors, and your cash flow is $8,000 a month. But now all of a sudden you got to do a roof or the boiler goes or whatever it may be, and that $8,000 now drops down to like $2,000.
Yeah.
How do you?
Well, there's
manage
appreciation and refinance, which is part of the formula as well in real estate, of course. So if you refinance a property and you're able to make, let's say, $100,000, I'm not going to go buy a new boat for $100,000, especially when you first get started. I'm going to use that money and maybe reinvest it into my properties, for example, right? Or into some of my properties. So if I need a new roof and I just made a $100,000 profit here, I might use some of that money to pay for those kind of things as well, right? To keep my own expenses down.
Good. That's a good way that you actually explained it. So it's not only just cash flow, but you're also now flipping some of these properties back to yourself, refinancing it. You have a bit of a stockpile. You know that you got to do the roof or the furnace is probably going to go soon. So you've got these buffers that are in place.
Exactly. And for those who are investing in a little bit of a hotter market, okay, you may not cash flow as much as a secondary market where, for example, we were investing. However, your appreciation down the road might be a lot more than us. So who's further ahead, right? I mean, there's different ways to look at it. Again, it's not just looking at the one thing. It's really looking at it globally, your entire portfolio. And that's the thing as you scale. At first, of course, you have to look at each building individually and you want it to self-sustain. But as you continue to grow your portfolio, you are able to, hey, okay, I'll take these funds. And you just, of course, always want to make sure that you're always ahead, not never behind type of thing. And you're always, essentially, if I take that money, that $100,000, and I take $40,000 for a roof, well, now this property just increased in value as well. And it's this really nice domino effect that happens.
Plus, if you're making $8K a month, doesn't mean you need to live at the $8K. You know what I mean? Like put that $2K aside every single month for that $10,000 roof. So it doesn't mean you need to live as much as your means don't need to be at the top part of your income earning either as well.
Well, even property management, right? At first we were, for example, doing it ourselves. Well, that was an expense that at first we didn't have to spend for, but we were, of course, taking that money. We weren't shopping with it. We were saving it as backup money, right? And because we knew someday we'd want to be more passive, and now we outsource everything. But we build towards that as well.
Yeah, and that's a good place to be when you can be more passive and start saying, okay, I don't like this part of doing this part of my business. Let me outsource this. Let me outsource that. I probably should outsource this, but I like doing it.
Yeah.
So now you can kind of pick and choose what you do in your business.
And that's not easy. Like I remember, and that's the thing, like there's no overnight success. You have to put some some time into it and certain things. And I mean, sometimes students or others in real estate investors will do it from the beginning, outsource everything, and that's great. For us, we used to do everything ourselves, like the cleaning, the dump runs. I remember being on the floor crying because a tenant had destroyed a place. And, it's never going to be perfect. It's a journey. But it's knowing as well that bigger pictures, it's still worth it. Okay, I had a bad week. I had to spend extra time cleaning, but if I buy another property, I can get that cash flow and I can hire a cleaner next time. And that's how we started making it better and getting through these difficult times that we did go through as investors
and
as well.
Small wins. We were actually talking about this morning. We're like, remember that time Mel had a hard time? We had to spend $80 on a cleaner because back then we're doing everything. And we thought, well, that's $80 that we didn't like. As you start, that was a small win. We could now start to afford, hey, here's $100, go do the dump run. Here's $80, clean the unit. Here's X amount of dollars, paint it. It becomes smaller and smaller wins. It's not like it's just, hey, outsource everything and don't have to do anything, depending on the asset itself. But remember, we appreciated that.
It was almost a reward.
Start to be hands off.
And then we started doing that. Wait a second, if I can buy another triplex and if it cash flows this much, well, I'm not going to use all of it, of course. I'm going to use a portion of it, and maybe I can delegate certain tasks, or I can let go of something that I don't really enjoy anymore.
Yeah. And I'm glad you shared that, because listen, man, even for us when we were growing too, my wife, there was times that she cried, and we were wearing multiple hats, and we were up till 3 a.m, and those are the challenges and the difficulties that you face in the beginning. And I think a lot of times, especially now, when people are seeing Mel and Dave on social media, they see the glamorous life. They see it looks easy, but there is hardship that you have to go through in the beginning. I wish there was an easy way. There isn't. Is there?
Agreed.
Unless maybe I did it the hard way, and there is an easy way. But you got to put the work in, and you got to grind sometimes.
Absolutely. The year we bought 12 and 12, right? Oh, wow, that's amazing. We bought 12 and 12. But yes, but we also worked really hard that year, right? We of course, our kids are always the number one most important thing. So we didn't want to sacrifice our time with them. So what we do, we'd get up super early in the morning and work on our business. And then it'd be the typical work, kids, activities. And then as soon as the kids would go to bed, we'd go to bed too. There was no TV. There was no other time, because we'd want to get up early again and work on our business, right? So essentially that year, we sacrificed short term to live in the long term the life we wanted to live. But there's definitely no overnight success. We're far from an overnight success. It took years and years of headache, right? And even before that, even before I had met Dave, I had my own I had a couple properties, for example, and the one I had to end up selling because I did it all wrong, because I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So it doesn't come overnight, but it's definitely worth it in the end, and it's a lot of fun if you hang in there and just remember that yes, it won't be perfect. There's roadblocks. There's sometimes headaches, but a bigger picture in the end, it's, in my opinion, so worth it.
Yeah, 100%. I can't agree with you more. Now, what else are you guys doing? So you got your investments that you've done and done incredibly well with. You're diversifying, going into other countries. I know some people say, well, that's not really diversifying, but I think it is. You're diversifying in other countries and not just keeping it in one particular area, right? You got the U.S., Costa Rica, Mexico, Canada. You're also doing coaching. What else are you doing?
Well, we've been saying it a little bit more. We're looking at creating a fund that's going to be positioned in buying assets in Texas and Florida. So that's something we're working on, a Canadian fund that's going to acquire assets in the States. So that's something.
Oh, that's cool. So I can actually put money into this fund?
If you so choose to.
Awesome.
It's not done yet.
We're working on our due diligence, and it's beginning.
Yeah.
It's one of our big goals for this year.
And that's the cool thing, again, when you start to outsource it, you become more creative. Like, okay, what else can I do now? And you start to outsource the things that you take a look at your task, and what is the per hour rate, I assume, is what you guys can take a look at and say, okay, I need to take this off my plate. And now that allows you to be more creative, saying what else can we actually do with our time, and how can we help other people? Are you guys in that mode right now where it's like you just enjoy helping other people?
I love it. Like, I mean, our Action Family Mentoring Program, it's my favorite part of what I do, in the business side, just because we've helped hundreds of students get started, some quit their jobs, and being able to help them and realizing that there's a way and they're bettering their lives and sometimes I've gotten messages where I start crying. Here I am crying again, but this time around it's very positive because I was able to help change somebody's life, and that's super, super powerful. And the cool thing is that we as a couple and as a family, we get the flexibility as well, where we can do this from anywhere. We get to make our own schedule. I can be there. Of course, my kids are number one to us, and that's something that I really wanted to build their life around, was that family time with Dave and I together. And of course, we're together all day, every day, but and also with the kids, right? Being able to be there when my little guy gets on the school bus and gets off the school bus, and just always being available and accessible to them.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you're going to be working on that. Anything else?
And that's the thing, and we kind of did that with our goal setting, is just what we've been doing has been working. So just also continuing to keep doing the same thing, right? Buying assets.
We might go maybe look at different countries as well, but we love traveling. So we're trying to do as many trips as possible. With the kids, it's a little difficult because of the schooling, but we still pull them away a little bit for a couple of trips a year. But just doing those kind of great things as well.
So it sounds like geographical freedom is what you guys are kind of chasing after now.
Yeah, and just even if it's not always geographical, like it might just be in our hometown town as well, right? We go to the cottage, for example, but just having the time to go swimming or go on the boat, or just doing those things where just creating the memories, right? It's I guess if somebody were to say, what does your future look like? It's really about living my best fulfilled life and really focusing on things that I love. And although I love going traveling and beach and all that, I also couldn't do that for 12 months out of the year either.
Right.
I need purpose. I want to help change people's lives. I need growth. I'm very growth driven. So continuing to do all that while also having that balance with my loved ones.
Yeah. You know what? And that's such a good point as well, too, is that, you can't, people think that you can just lay on the beach for a year. Try it. Yeah. I don't think you can.
No.
After, because we take 2 months off in the summer, and then we take 2 months off, and it's more like 6 weeks off in the winter. And I'm telling you, by the end of summer, I can't drink anymore. I can't party anymore. I'm just done. I'm done entertaining.
Right.
And you need purpose. You need something to do with your life, or maybe like a higher calling. And I enjoyed, that first week getting back. This is actually my first podcast that I've done, because the podcast that I've done, they actually are able to kind of continue to go over the course of either the summer or the winter months.
Nice.
So where am I going with this? Is that you do need purpose.
Yeah.
You can't just land the beach.
100%. I'd go bonkers if we didn't do anything.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
After a few weeks, like, okay, I'm ready to get back in some kind of a routine. And
you need to break.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about
absolutely.
it. But you also need something to do.
I think it's having that freedom of choice.
Yes.
The choice of knowing, because it's not about the money. Yeah, of course, money is great and trips are great, but it's not about that. It's about the choice of doing what you want. If, hey, you know what, I feel like doing this today, I can. Or if I don't feel like doing this, that's okay, I can as well.
Now, do you ever feel, though, even though you've gotten to where you are today, that there's still sometimes chaos? Is it sometimes, not chaos, but like, what have I done? What have I built?
I mean, there's always a couple fires once in a while, right? Absolutely. You're planning your day this way, and all of a sudden something happens, and all right, I guess I'm dealing with this situation today, right? Whether the
week can go sideways pretty quickly.
Yeah,
right?
whether it's a change in team members or something else, or building something happen. So those things, absolutely, that's reality. Yeah.
Okay, I thought maybe it was just me and my wife.
No, and
sometimes it just goes nuts. We look at each other like, what did we do to ourselves?
I think that's the reality of having a business. I mean, and being an entrepreneur is that we have a very large team. We have lots of team members. But if something happens and one of my main managers is not available or not accessible, well, guess what? That's kind of becoming our role a little bit until we find a place. Exactly, tag you're it. So realizing that as well, that an entrepreneur it comes with that as well, right? Where you have a lot of flexibility, but sometimes something happens and your day completely changes unexpectedly.
Yeah. All right, listen, we're close to the end. I do want to, I was reading your book, and for anybody who hasn't read your book yet, it's called Investing Secrets. I'll put it right there. Awesome book, short and sweet, love it. But there's one quote that I really like. It goes, "Even the king of the jungle can't do it alone." It kind of reminds me of another little saying, is like, I've never met a rich hermit.
Right.
Essentially along the same lines, right?
Yeah.
And what do you guys mean by that?
kind of like Mel just said, is what you see on social media is kind of like us, traveling and buying buildings and doing that stuff. But for example, we drove to Toronto today and we're going to be at a conference all weekend. Well, we've had our team has helped us with the presentation all week. They've helped us, right? Property management is holding down the fort. The finance department's holding down the fort. Like everyone is helping do things so that in the back end that may be fun or not fun, so that we can go tomorrow and be on stage and, hey, this looks easy, but meanwhile there's a whole orchestra behind it kind of making it happen. So
yeah, and remembering that as well, right? When you see that on social media, and yes, if you're following us, you'll see, hey, we're doing this and this, but it isn't just Dave and I. Of course, we have a large team that helps with so many tasks, and we're so grateful. I mean, there's no Mel and Dave without our team. And that's something that, of course, didn't happen overnight. It slowly added more and more and more team members, of course. But you don't have to do it alone, and it's okay to delegate. And again, for me, that $80 for a cleaner was a huge step. And I think it was my own ego to realizing, but I'm trying to do everything, and I'm trying to be this superwoman, but I need help because otherwise I can't grow anymore. And the first time was really hard. And then I really liked it. Once I was able to let go of the $80 and really realizing, well, during this time I was able to do something I really love instead.
Right.
Or during this time I was able to find the next deal that's going to make me $100K instead. Well, that $80 was definitely worth it, right? So thinking bigger picture as well.
Yeah, it is difficult when you start to outsource in the beginning because you're more focused. I think it's just a mindset thing of trying to save money. And you realize what it does, it allows you to actually make more money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was the hardest part for us.
But it's hard when you are fairly tight on money still to
Yes.
push through that, right? It's that balance.
And especially you're saying, okay, I'm going to pay an admin 30 or 40,000, like, but I don't have that yet. And that's where that belief in what you're doing and what you're trying to build really then also helps to project you to where you're trying to get to.
Yeah, and I think building a culture around your team as well, where everyone is very vested into what you do, right? I mean, we have an amazing team, and that's really something that's important to us, is building that culture where everybody feels connected and they're part of it, and they are part of it, because without them, there's no Investor Mel Dave, right? And find those people who have that mentality and the right mindset as well, because not everybody does. And if you bring on people that maybe talk that, well, it doesn't take long that things fall apart, right?
Yeah, for sure. Mel, Dave, listen, I really enjoyed this talk with you guys. Thank you guys for coming down from North Bay and doing this with me. Thanks for being my icebreaker. So my first podcast back in the studio. I was a little jittery at first. I always kind of get that, but I'm getting back into the groove again. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Gary.
And last piece of advice that you can share from both of you.
I mean, action, right? What that's my key word is been action. You can think about wanting to do something, you can dream about it, you can read books, you can hire a coach, you can do all those things. But at the end of the day, if you don't take that action piece, you're never going to get the results that you want. So, and just remember as well that if all these other people can do it, why can't you, right? Just get the knowledge and then take action.
Awesome. Love it.
Kind of what you were saying earlier is trying to do it on your own is going to cost you more money down the road one day, right? Trying to cheap out in the beginning, thinking that $1,000 a month is going to save you money. Yeah, no, investing in a coach or mentor. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, 100%. Because when you do that as well, too, I think sometimes people are looking for this magic medicine or magic pill. And it's not just one thing that your mentor or your coach is going to say. It's just these little small things. Because you got to remember, when you're going down this path, you're this Titanic ship, and it took you this long to keep going this way. Now it's going to take you a while to start turning around to shift that mindset, right? So great advice. Thank you guys very much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having us, Gary.
Enjoy the weekend workshop. No, workshop? No, but
conference.
Conference. That's it. Conference. And I hope so. I'm gonna see if I can make it down there.
Hey, cool. There we go. Make sure to come say hi if you do.
All right, I will. All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you so much.
Gary. All right, take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Today's show is brought to you by BM Select. Are you looking to become a millionaire through real estate investing? If the answer is yes, and it should be, then BM Select is for you. BM Select has created more real estate millionaires in the past 15 years than any other mortgage brokerage in Canada. They create strategies that allow investors to grow their portfolio and have a unique way of helping clients navigate through the different banks and lending options available. Contact them today for a free consultation and get started on what could be a life-changing journey.
Thanks for listening to today's show with Gary Hibbert. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with your host on Instagram at Gary Hibbert. Until next time, stay mindful and remember, you don't have to be great to start. Just start, and you'll be on the path to being great.